Hey, thanks for joining us again for episode 2 of Southern Sports Media Racing Podcast. Joining me tonight are Nick and David once again, and we're here to talk about all things Clash. So, starting out, I'm just going to let Nick and David give their initial reaction to what we saw this weekend and if they thought it was a success for NASCAR. So, Nick, you can go ahead and start.
I do think it was a success for NASCAR, and I really thought it. Let me pull it up real quick. I really think it was a success today. When did y'all see that Fox Sports put out the ratings?
Yes, I saw that earlier.
Do you see that, David?
No, I have not seen it yet, but I know exactly where to go find it.
4 point. Are you going to Bob Pockrass's Twitter?
No,
It's
my
four.
good friend Jayski.
It's 4.2 million viewers watch the Clash. So
Yeah,
I guess we could compare
four
that to
four
the.
million two hundred eighty three.
I guess we could compare that the equivalent to like an NFL preseason game, right? Which was up 168%, which is insane. And then they had 2.5 million viewers for the heat races, which is what all the old school NASCAR fans were complaining about, how no one was watching it. Other than that, yeah, I thought the LCQs were definitely more entertaining than the actual race, just because people had something to fight for. And once you get into like that feature race, it's just the same as every other short track race. You have two or three guys that check out, like Joey and Kyle. And yeah, it was just, other than like the top three or four, I thought the actual feature was kind of boring.
Yeah, David, your initial reaction?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Nick. It was a complete success for the sport. I think it opens up a whole new avenue. Looking forward to where we're going to be able to host a clash, where we're going to be able to put up these pop up events like that. The turnout was amazing. That place looked packed. You may not have noticed it on TV. They just had some bad camera angles, especially that in the area right where the entrance is kind of not as full. But I think that's where all the VIPs were at. But that place was packed. TV did a great job. The heat races were good. The LCQ race one was normal. LCQ race two was just a complete chaos. Like it reminds me of going Saturday night to Bowman Gray. That's literally what it reminds me of. And I think a lot of new fans out there got a glimpse of that, got a glimpse of what this sport could be. It's just I think it's up to NASCAR to kind of transition that into its weekly stuff after this race to kind of prove that it's not a one off, you know, kind of race for these cars. So let's fingers crossed and hope that this kind of racing and this close action carries over.
Yeah, I agree with what both of y'all said. And something that I heard on the broadcast was they said 70% of the fans at the Clash this Sunday were first time um, at the track. So, like, NASCAR marketed themselves so well this weekend in Los Angeles. The performances, we we found new fans. I suppose we did. Um, and what we saw on the track, the heat races were great. The last chance qualifiers, like you said, first one was pretty calm. Second one was absolutely a train wreck. I mean, they were literally just pushing each other into the turn and hoping they make it out. And then the feature, it was more calm than I thought it would be. I was expecting the feature with 23 cars on a quarter mile track, we'd see a lot of torn up equipment, but we didn't. And I think that just goes to show that these are the best stock car drivers in the world, and you can throw any challenge their way, and they'll find a way to adapt and overcome.
The second LCQ would have been fine if Ty Dillon wasn't in it.
Wow. Well, Mike Joyce on the broadcast, he was like, he's hit everything but the lottery. And I mean, that's true because, my God, he jumped the restart, was sent to the back, took out like two or three people. Not a good day to be Ty
Jumped it
Dillon.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't get called for it the second time.
No, he actually wound up jumping it three different times. Got called for it twice.
The last time
So
he didn't get caught for it though. I thought the most interesting part of I don't remember what race this was in, but when Todd Gilliland just completely dumped Eric Almirola.
that was the LCQ
I
one.
thought that was absolutely hilarious
I don't
because
think he did dump him. He just misjudged the getting back underneath him and just
it looked a lot
cleaned
worse
him
than it
out.
actually was.
yeah, and going off of that, we saw Ryan Blaney throw a Hans device at Eric Jones. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But short track racing, I mean, this is what you see across America on a Saturday night at a short track. You're going to see people get mad, people get in fights. torn up cars. I mean, this is what the sport is built on, and I think it's great. I think we need to go back next year and the year after that.
Mhm.
Yeah, the only thing I'm hoping that doesn't happen is kind of like the same thing that happened with Rockingham when it's got a truck race back, is that it doesn't die off. That we're able to replicate this feeling and this atmosphere again, and hopefully the people of Los Angeles and the NASCAR world out there kind of latch onto it and make this their own. I think this also might kind of alter the plans or speed up the plans for the Auto Club conversion.
My question is, so did y'all, when y'all looked at the Fox thing, did you see what the top TV market was for the race? It was Greensboro, North Carolina. So I don't know, how close is Greensboro to like North Wilkesboro? How close are those two together?
About an hour and 10, hour and 20.
Okay, so
Yeah.
my question is, Greensboro's been like a top NASCAR market on TV for a really long time. So if you take that, let's say you put a race at North Wilkesboro, right? What is that going to do to your TV market? Are those people actually going to go to the race, or what will that look like? And then how will that affect your TV contract moving forward if that's the direction you decided to go if you're NASCAR?
Well, I think you also got to look at the second and then down there on the fifth line too. I mean, you got Greensboro, Charlotte, then down there at the third one at 3.7, you also got Raleigh. So I mean, you got major cities in North Carolina, plus you got Wilkes County, which will go absolutely insane if they bring racing back there. I mean, I'm talking about that county may account for probably more than 50% of the seats being sold. They are that serious about that track. They're that serious about trying to get the speedway back up and running. Um, I don't think it's going to hurt the ratings too terribly much, because I mean, you can look at the ratings. Greensboro with a 6.6 to Charlotte at 5.0. I mean, the people are still going to stay home and watch it, but I mean, you're going to see a lot of people there. Um, I think it'd still be wonderful. That's just my honest opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. Being in Boone, when I drive back and forth home, I always go by North Wilkesboro Motor Speedway, and you can tell the people in Wilkes County want North Wilkesboro back. They have the banners up on the side of the road, they have the billboards. Um, so yeah, I think Wilkes County would react really well if North Wilkesboro was brought back. And I don't see it playing that much of effect on the TV market in Greensboro, because you got to think that market covers Winston, High Point, like all the immediate triad. And going off of this weekend's event, I assume that a lot of people in the Greensboro market were probably people who go to Bowman Gray on a Saturday night, and they probably are the one majority of the people who tuned into this because they heard about it and they wanted to see this, since it was something that NASCAR hasn't done for quite a few years.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it makes all the Bowman Gray haters out there be like, look, NASCAR boys go up and tear their stuff up just like we do, throw stuff at people. Y'all give us crap all the time.
For sure. I think, so trying to wrap this back into the Clash, I think one of the biggest surprises we definitely had was RFK.
I don't know if that was a surprise or an absolute dumpster fire of a showing.
I want to think that, don't they only have like 3 cars, including the Clash car?
That's every team. That's not just them. Like every team literally has basically 3 cars complete.
Yeah, but RFK doesn't have the funding that like JGR would have.
And you think
So-
Rick Ware does?
Oh no, I think that they just don't. That they didn't care. They were there to win. But I think that Brad Keselowski has shown that he's always been a very calculated driver, especially with an ownership stake in that team now. I could see where he was thinking financially as opposed to competition.
I
Yeah,
think BJ McLeod did the same thing from what I was hearing too. He even told him that I'm just going to go log laps and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm just here. I just work here is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because Brad Keselowski's never, well, he's been a team owner in the sport because he owned a truck team, but he's never owned a cup team and raced for that team at the same time. So, but I still expected more Sunday. He just, he did not show anything. I mean, I was shocked. It was kind of bad. I don't know. I was expecting him to do well in his heat race, and I was really expecting him to make the main event, but he didn't. And I don't know. It was just,
For lack of a better term, Cody Ware kicked his ass on Sunday.
Yeah, he took him behind the
did.
woodshed. That was probably my biggest surprise of the weekend is just how fast those Rick Ware racing cars are. He made one hell of a decision when he went to Tony Stewart and be like, hey, we need to partner up. And I think it's showing already.
We'll see next week, or not next week, the week after next. But if that was any indication, that'd be really cool to see Ryan Preece maybe up there contending for some wins, because he was up there contending in JTG equipment. So who knows what he can do in any sort of competitive car like that.
Yeah, and kind of transitioning, Joey Logano obviously won the Clash Sunday, but I thought it was interesting because he also won the Bristol Dirt Race last year. So he's kind of building this, I guess, trend where he's winning these big marquee events that are, first time for the sport. But no, at the same time, Joey Logano is a really good driver, so I'm not surprised he won. But I kind of thought that was ironic that he also won the first dirt race last year for the first time in 70 years.
So thoughts on both of you. So my pick last week was for Tyler Reddick. You think Joey Logano would have won or had a lesser shot at it if Tyler hadn't broke his stuff?
Tyler Reddick was fast as shit, dude.
Like that impressed. I was loving it. Like that is good to see.
He will win some races this
That's
year.
good to see out of
Absolutely,
RCR too.
no doubt he will win some races this year.
It's good to see them like back in a light again.
Those petty GMS cars weren't slow either. I mean, Eric Jones was up there.
He finished what, fourth? I think Eric Jones finished fourth.
And then Ty Dillon won the heat race.
Well,
winning's winning.
He won the heat race and he kind of got it taken away from him.
My biggest concern out of all of this at the Clash this weekend was the Justin Haley wreck. I talked to David about this on the phone today. That car was completely destroyed at 60-mile-an-hour collision.
Yeah, that's something I noticed during the broadcast too, was the amount of damage from hitting that wall at 6 miles per hour. I mean, he looked like he just blew a left front at 1.5 miles for a super speedway. I mean, the whole left front was completely destroyed.
Hey, did y'all see his in-car camera? I know you're supposed to do this when you're
they switched from the gearbox to that rack and pinion. That thing will snap.
It looked a lot more. It looked really violent.
It did, but the only thing that I can say that we might need to take a step back and look at is the same thing that was looking at like F1 cars or Indy cars, how they disintegrate to dissipate the initial force. So I think that's another thing that is possibly. Plus, we got a lot more aluminum suspension stuff as well. So I think that also played a part in it.
For sure.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people who've kind of given Kyle Larson a hard time after what happened because, not really seen Kyle Larson get that upset, but it all goes back to the fact that it's a short quarter-mile track and people are going to hit each other and get mad. So, I mean, that's just what's going to happen. But yeah, also Tyler Reddick was competitive, but Austin Dillon finished third. So I mean, both RCR cars did really well this weekend, and but it's gonna be a whole different animal once we get down to Daytona.
I expect RCR to both of those cars to win races this year. And
I agree.
Maybe even a round of 8 for Tyler Reddick. But David, what are we doing after this?
I'm planning on getting on Apex. New season just came out. Hey, do you know where the map is tonight?
No, I don't. How could I figure that out?
You can download this nice app. It's called the Apex map. Our good buddy Josh built this app from the ground up. Go on there, find out where it's at. You can go find out where the arenas is, ranked battle royale. The new mode just came out. You can also find out what's in crafting before you even get on.
What's in crafting today?
Let me just check here. All right, we have purple extended energy. We have the Digi Threat, and also in weekly we have the purple backpack and purple helmet.
Apex map. Download it now.
Link in description below.
Official Apex partner of Southern Sports Media.
We love you, Josh.
Tie-in. Great tie-in.
Totally not a bizarre tie-in.
just it flows.
That's what she said. Well, moving on.
Well, don't know how we're gonna tie that in, but
well, yeah, I think that was a good wrap up of the Clash. Any other final thoughts?
Um, maybe the only thing I could think of would be, do you guys think that the transactional failure is something we need to be looking out for the future? Or do you think that was just two guys just figuring it out because they both admitted to doing the same thing, just dropping the clutch to just kind of warm the tires up from neutral?
I think that I think that was kind of, you can't really take any data from that race. I think where we'll see a lot of parts failures this year is the Coke 600. I think we're going to have a lot of failures this year. It'll kind of look like, what was that race? Wasn't it like the Brickyard in like 2008?
Oh yeah,
when they were
that was
having
terrible.
all
They had
those
to call
tire failures and stuff.
a caution every 10 to 12 laps because they were blowing tires out left and right.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, something like that happening for the 600 this year.
Fingers
yeah,
crossed we don't.
the
That
failures we
hurt.
saw this weekend, I feel like were because they were, they kind of admitted to what they were doing, and also it's a quarter-mile short track, so I don't expect it to be a problem unless the longer events like the 600. But it was a little bizarre to see under that one caution, two of the cars go out, and it was a little concerning, but I don't think it's too much to worry about at this point.
For sure, for sure.
So
Well,
ready for Daytona.
for sure.
Yeah. Be sure to also tune in later this week. We'll be having the Truck Series and Xfinity Series preview podcast coming out probably this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then next week, maybe Wednesday or something like that, you will see our Daytona preview show.
Yep, because the qualifying races will be next Thursday night. So
Yep. For sure.
It's exciting.
Make sure you like and subscribe to the video.
all right, thank you all for joining us.